The young and the restless spoilers, the shadow of desperation. The quiet night in Genoa City was shattered when Mariah Copeland stumbled upon the devastating message that would alter her life forever. Her heart raced as she unfolded the cryptic note, trembling hands struggling to hold steady. The photograph enclosed with it was enough to bring her to her knees, a horrifying image of her wife, Tessa Porter, and their baby girl, Aria, bound and helpless in what appeared to be a cold, desolate room. Tears streamed down her face as she let out a gut-wrenching scream that echoed through the empty house. Ian Ward. His name brought a shiver to Mariah's spine. The man who had haunted her past was back, this time wielding her family's safety as a weapon. Ian's twisted mind had orchestrated an unfathomable plan. He wanted Mariah to leave everything behind and come to him, alone. The message was chillingly clear: if anyone else got involved, if she so much as whispered a word to the police, Aria and Tessa would pay the ultimate price. Mariah's mind spiraled into chaos. She couldn't think, she couldn't breathe. The very thought of losing Aria, her precious little girl, was unbearable. And Tessa? Her soulmate, her partner, her everything, she couldn't let them die. Mariah clenched the photo in her hand, her tears smudging the ink of Ian's threatening words. But this wasn't just about her family. This was about Ian Ward, the man who had once controlled her life as part of his sinister cult. He didn't want death, no, that would be too simple. Ian wanted power, control, and Mariah back under his thumb. His sick obsession with the cult and its twisted ideals hadn't faded over the years. He didn't just want Mariah to follow his instructions, he wanted her to return to him, to rejoin his cult, to submit to his authority. Mariah knew Ian all too well. His charisma masked a dangerous narcissism, his words coated with manipulation. She had escaped his grasp once, and now he was back to reclaim what he believed was his. The burden of a mother's love. The photo of Tessa and Aria burned in Mariah's mind, haunting her with every blink. Ian's instructions came with a time and place, an abandoned warehouse on the outskirts of Genoa City. The message demanded she come alone. Ian made it crystal clear: if she disobeyed, even for a moment, her family would suffer. Mariah sat in the dim light of her living room, clutching the photograph to her chest. Her heart ached with fear and guilt. She wanted to call the police, to tell someone, anyone, but Ian's voice echoed in her head: if you bring the cops, they die. Her thoughts raced. Could she outsmart him? Could she find a way to save Tessa and Aria without surrendering herself to Ian's madness? But every time she tried to think of a plan, Ian's threats loomed larger, clouding her judgment. She couldn't risk it. She couldn't take the chance. The weight of her love for Aria crushed her. This was her daughter, the little girl she had promised to protect at all costs. If that meant giving herself up to Ian, then so be it. Mariah would do anything, to keep her child safe. Her life meant nothing compared to Aria's. If Ian wanted her to kneel, she would kneel. If he wanted her to obey, she would obey. But she silently vowed to herself, she would not let him win. Not in the end. A dangerous journey. The day of the meeting arrived, and Mariah felt like she was walking into her own grave. She barely slept the night before, haunted by nightmares of Ian's voice and Tessa's muffled cries for help. She packed a small bag, her hands shaking as she included everything Ian had instructed: no phone, no weapons, no signs of help. As she drove to the location Ian had specified, Mariah's chest tightened with dread. The warehouse loomed ahead, a menacing structure surrounded by darkness. She parked the car and sat for a moment, staring at the ominous building. Her stomach churned. She couldn't believe this was happening. She stepped out, her legs weak beneath her. The cold wind bit at her skin as she approached the warehouse door, which creaked open with eerie ease. The inside was dimly lit, with shadows dancing along the walls. Her breath came in shallow gasps as she stepped further in, her ears straining for any sound. Then she heard it, a voice she hadn't heard in years, a voice that sent chills down her spine. "Welcome back, Mariah," Ian said, stepping out from the shadows. He looked older but no less menacing. His eyes gleamed with the same manipulative fervor she remembered from her time in the cult. I knew you'd come. You always were loyal, deep down. Mariah's fists clenched at her sides. Where are they? She demanded, her voice trembling with a mix of fear and fury. Where's my family? Ian smirked, as though he relished her desperation. They're safe, for now, he said, his tone dripping with condescension. But that depends entirely on you. You see, Mariah, I don't want to hurt them. I just want you back where you belong. With me. With the family. Mariah's stomach turned. The word family felt like poison coming from his lips. I'm not part of your cult anymore, she spat. I left, and I'm never coming back. Ian's smile faltered, replaced by a dangerous glint in his eyes. Oh, you'll come back, he said. Because if you don't, your wife and child won't live to see another day. A mother's resolve. Mariah felt trapped, like a caged animal. She couldn't see any way out of this nightmare. Ian had all the power, all the control. But as she stood there, staring into the eyes of the man who had caused her so much pain, a fire ignited within her. She wasn't the same scared girl who had once been under Ian's spell. She was a mother now. She was a fighter. She had to play along, at least for now. What do you want me to do? She asked, her voice quieter, more subdued. Ian's smirk returned. I want your loyalty, he said. I want you to prove that you're committed to the family. And if you do that, I'll let them go. Mariah nodded, swallowing her fear. Fine, she said. I'll do whatever you want. Just don't hurt them. But deep down, Mariah was already planning her next move. She knew she had to be careful, to bide her time. Ian may have had the upper hand now, but Mariah wasn't going to let him win. Not in the end. She would find a way to save Tessa and Aria, and she would make Ian pay for every ounce of pain he had caused. As she followed Ian deeper into the warehouse, Mariah whispered a silent promise to herself, this isn't over. A mother's torment. Mariah Copeland's heart was a battlefield of anguish and determination. Every second that passed felt like a lifetime as her mind conjured horrifying images of Aria in danger. The thought of her daughter suffering, of her innocent little girl being harmed by Ian Ward's madness, was more than Mariah could bear. She clutched the edges of the table in the dimly lit warehouse, her knuckles turning white as she fought back the tears that threatened to drown her resolve. Then Ian, as though sensing her torment, slid another photograph across the table. Mariah's trembling hands reached for it, her breath catching in her throat as she saw the image. It was Tessa, alive but visibly shaken, sitting in a corner of a darkened room. Her hands were bound, and her face bore a mixture of defiance and exhaustion. Behind her, a small crib came into view. It was empty. She's alive, Ian said with a sickening smirk, his voice dripping with false benevolence. And your daughter is, well, let's just say she's being taken care of. Mariah's eyes darted back to the photo, desperate to glean any sign of hope. If Tessa was alive and Aria was being cared for, then there was still a chance. A chance to reunite her family. A chance to protect her daughter. But Ian's words twisted the knife deeper into her chest. Being taken care of. What did that mean? Was Aria safe? Was she crying for her mother? Mariah's stomach churned at the thought. I want to see them, Mariah said, her voice cracking with desperation. Please, Ian. Let me see Tessa and Aria. I'll do anything you want. Ian chuckled, leaning back against the wall with an air of satisfaction. Anything, you say, he mused, his dark eyes scanning her as though she were a pawn on a chessboard. You're already here, Mariah. You've already shown me how far you're willing to go for your family. But I need more than words. I need commitment. Mariah's hands clenched into fists. I am committed, she snapped, her voice trembling with both anger and fear. I'll do whatever it takes. Take me instead. Let me be the one you keep. I'll stay here. I'll I'll join your cult again. Just let me be with Aria. Let me take care of her. She needs her mother. Ian's smile widened, as though her plea was exactly what he wanted to hear. You're willing to give up everything for her, he asked, his tone almost mocking. Your freedom, your life, your very soul? You'll bow to me, live under my rules, and become what I ask of you, all for the chance to be near your daughter? Mariah nodded, tears streaming down her face. Yes, she whispered. If that's what it takes. Just don't hurt her. Don't hurt Tessa. Let me take care of Aria, and I'll give you whatever you want. Ian's calculated move. Ian stepped closer, his imposing figure casting a long shadow across the room. You know, Mariah, he said, his voice dripping with manipulation, this is exactly what I hoped for. A mother's love is such a powerful thing, isn't it? It's what makes you vulnerable. It's what makes you obedient. Mariah's stomach turned at his words, but she didn't flinch. She couldn't. Not now. But, Ian continued, pacing slowly around her, this isn't just about Aria. This is about you. Your destiny. You may not see it now, but you belong with me. With the family. I don't just want your body here, Mariah. I want your mind. Your heart. Your loyalty. Mariah swallowed hard. You'll have it, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. Just let me be with my daughter. Ian stopped in his tracks, studying her with an unsettling intensity. You're making this sound so simple, he said, shaking his head. But loyalty isn't just words, Mariah. It's action. It's sacrifice. Are you really ready to give up everything? To live under my control? To be what I need you to be? I'll do whatever you want, Mariah said, her voice breaking. Just, please, don't hurt them. Ian let out a low, satisfied laugh. Oh, Mariah, he said, his tone almost mocking. You're so predictable. But I'll tell you what, I'll give you a chance. I'll let you prove your loyalty. If you can show me that you're truly ready to return to the family, then maybe, just maybe, I'll let you see your wife and daughter again. The price of sacrifice. Mariah felt a flicker of hope, but it was quickly drowned by the weight of Ian's demands. She didn't trust him. She knew this was a game to him, a way to manipulate and control her. But what choice did she have? Aria's life was on the line. Tessa's life was on the line. And Mariah would rather die than let anything happen to them. I'll prove it, she said, her voice firm despite the tears streaming down her face. I'll do whatever you ask. Just don't hurt them. Ian's smile returned, sinister and calculating. Good, he said. Then let's begin. As Ian outlined the steps Mariah would need to take to prove her loyalty, her mind raced. She knew she had to play along, to buy herself time. But deep down, she was already plotting her next move. She wouldn't let Ian win. Not this time. She would find a way to save Tessa and Aria, no matter the cost. And as she stood there, staring into the eyes of the man who had once controlled her life, Mariah made a silent vow, I will protect my family. Even if it means destroying you, Ian. This setup leaves room for a powerful climax, whether Mariah finds a way to turn the tables on Ian or is forced to make an even greater sacrifice. Let me know if you'd like to develop the story further. Smiling face with smiling eyes.